Yes lads, I just thought I would start. If you're looking for any cheap and reliable FIFA 19 coins, head over to u7bar.com and use code MUZZ for 5% off. Okay boys, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a Premier League prediction. I'm going to be doing a part 1 and a part 2. So what I'm going to be doing is, obviously it's very early in the transfer window, so I'm going to be doing like an early Premier League prediction, and then I'm going to do another Premier League prediction, an updated one, just to see how much it changes with like the signings teams make and stuff like that. So if you do enjoy this video, please do drop a like. We'll go with 50 likes. Jump us up if you're new. And there's a lot of like different tier maker lists going around, like midfielders, forwards, all stuff like that. So if you'd like me to do a tier list for like midfielders, defenders or stuff like that, just let me know in the comments and I can do that. But anyway, we'll start off in 20th. We've got all the Premier League teams here. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to take part and send pictures and let me know your guys' predictions. Like, do an early prediction as well with me. So I'll leave a link in the description to this website anyway. Okay, so this is tough because I've not actually watched the Championship at all last season. I used to follow the Championship quite a bit, but I generally didn't watch it. I tracked the results, but not really watched it. So I don't know much about Sheffield. I don't know much about Norwich, and I don't know much about who else got promoted. Aston Villa. And I also don't know much about Aston Villa either. So, well, I do. Aston Villa's probably the one Championship team I know a lot more than Norwich and Sheffield. But anyway, jumping into 20th. Please don't get too angry anyway if I've put your team at 20th. I don't know loads about your team. I might not. But I'd like to know. I think. Well, anyway, boys, let's jump into 20th. So, jumping into 20th. Like I said, I've never watched the Championship, especially Sheffield and Norwich. I'm basing it off signings. So, like I said, I'm literally basing these Championship teams on signings from this season. So, we'll just have to see. If you guys know a lot about Sheffield and I'm putting them in 20th and you think they're going to come 10th or something, just bear with me. It's only an early prediction. They might end up signing like Ben Chilwell or something. They probably won't. But anyway, we're going to go with Sheffield at 20th. Like I said, don't know much about them. They made a few signings. They've brought in a few Championship players. And they brought in Phil Jagielka on a free as well, which it'll be very interesting to see how he does there. But from what I've seen from the transfers and stuff so far, and from their current team, I'm going to put them 20th. I think they've got the weakest squad. So jumping into 19th, I'm going to be putting Brighton. I think Brighton very close to not being relegated last season, obviously, and I've not got much hope for Brighton. Will Glenn Murray still have the power to help them? Mr. Glenn Murray cannot. He can't do it anymore. He generally can't do it anymore. So next, boys, we're going to go 18th. I'm going to be putting Burnley. And this might be a bit of a shock, but they haven't actually done much. They didn't do much in last transfer window. And they ended up doing a lot worse than they did the previous season. So, and they haven't had much transfer business done. And they've not really made the squad any better from last season. So, if they don't, obviously it's an early prediction. They could end up signing some decent players. But from what it is, from now, I do think they're going to come 18th and get relegated. And I'm not going to lie, I hope they do. Because the way they played against Chelsea last season, nah, go down. I generally hope you go down. So now jumping on into 17th, that just survived. I'm going to be picking, I think it's going to be Aston Villa. I think they're just going to survive. I think they've got a decent squad, but I think that it's going to be very close between all these teams down at the bottom. It usually is quite close, but I think Aston Villa will just survive. Now jumping on into 16th, I think I low-key want Newcastle to actually go up the table a little bit, because obviously they're quite a big club. But the way everything is going at Newcastle right now, it looks so good for them. Like obviously they're looking at a new owner coming in, which looks very promising for them, and it looks like it's fell through or whatever. And I don't know, it doesn't look too good for Newcastle, so they could easily go down in my opinion. But I'm going to say they just survive, and they do have a few decent players still as well, and they've obviously lost a decent player in Perez to Leicester as well. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see who they do sign this window though. Right, so now jumping into 15th, I'm going to be putting Norwich, the league winners from last season for the Championship. They have actually loaned Ralph Farman, which is pretty decent. I think it's a bit crazy, to be honest. Obviously, played in the Champions League. I don't know why Schalke have actually loaned him out. I'm not too sure why, but I think that's a decent little signing for Norwich. And it'll be interesting to see what other signings they make, because they haven't made many signings other than that. They brought in Byron or something from West Ham. A right back, so it'd be interesting to see who they do actually bring in. But I do think they've got a decent squad, and I do think they'll come like sort of mid-table. Right, now jumping on into 14th. This is literally down to if they keep Zaha or not. There's a lot of rumours whether Zaha's staying or leaving. If they lose Zaha, I generally think they could easily get relegated. Because if you see the stats with Zaha, when Zaha's playing and when Zaha isn't playing, Zaha is a huge factor in Crystal Palace's position in the league. So I think it's 100% down to whether Zaha stays. But I'm going to say if he does stay, I do think they'll come 14th. And I do think they'll do decent because Zaha is actually a very, very good player. But obviously they've got some other decent players like Van Aanholt and stuff like that. So I do think they'll come 14th with their current team. They've also only brought in one player as well, and it's Stephen Henderson on a free from Forest. And he's 31 years old. That's a bit of a weird signing. Okay, now jumping into 13th, I'm going to be putting West Ham United. They have lost one of their best players in Arnautovic. He did in fact leave to the Chinese league or something like that. So he's going to be getting a lot of money. But West Ham have not made a single signing, not one signing yet, not even a loan player or anything. So I don't know. With their current squad, they've actually got a decent-ish team. Obviously, they've got Felipe Anderson, stuff like that. They're going to probably need a replacement for Arnautovic. Andy Carroll's been released as well, so they're definitely going to need a striker. And they really need to upgrade their defence as well. Diop looks decent, but the rest of their defence is not great at all. They need to buy defenders and a striker really. But if they can bring in like defenders and a striker as well, I do think they could maybe even push into 10th and above really. Because West Ham have got potential to be a decent squad because they've obviously got some positions are very, very strong. And they could generally, some of them could probably get in the top 6 teams like Fabianski, Felipe Anderson, players like that. I do rate Fabianski a lot, to be honest. Right, now jumping into 12th, I'm going to put Bournemouth 12th. I think this is a tough one between Bournemouth and Southampton. I've spoiled it already, but I'm going to be putting Southampton if I can get to 11th. So I'm going to be putting Southampton 11th and Bournemouth 12th. So Bournemouth actually started the season pretty well. I think they were quite high up in the season actually for quite a while. And they were quite a strong team. They switched like a 3 at the back and they started playing really well. So, and Bournemouth actually have quite a strong team as well. They've only brought in 2 players. I'll show you who they brought in. They brought in Lloyd Kelly, who I've never actually watched, for 13 million. And they brought in a guy called Jack Stacey from Luton, who again I've never watched. But they brought in him for 13 million, so he must be half decent. He's 20 years old as well. And a guy that's 23, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. But Bournemouth's current team, I do think it's easily mid-table team, easily. And if they can upgrade on that, they'll have quite a solid team. And now jumping on into 11th, obviously you guys know it's Southampton. I feel like a lot of people are going to be underestimating Southampton this season. For me personally, last season I did predict that Southampton would finish higher than they actually did. The main reason why I put them 11th though is obviously they've not got the best current team, but they've made 3 signings that I think they're going to help a lot. So Southampton especially, they have really, really struggled for goals last season, really struggled. And basically what they've done is they brought in Danny Ings for 19 million, which I think is quite a good deal in this market. They brought in Shea Adams from Birmingham, who I know is very good for the Championship anyway. It'll be interesting to see whether he does it in the Premier League. And he's 22. And a left winger who... They've brought in 3 attackers basically, 3 forwards. So I think that's already good business. And they brought them in for quite a lot of money for their standard anyway. So it'd be interesting to see whether they can actually do it in the Premier League. But I think it's going to be interesting. I think between 11th to I think these 3, to be honest, could easily switch over. So West Ham could easily go there, could quite easily go there. But obviously it's only early doors in the transfer window. I'm currently recording this July the 20th at 4 in the morning, just to let you know. So obviously in a month's time all this could change and West Ham could go sign an absolute banger of a signing. But with their current teams and current signings, I do think Southampton are going to do decent. I think with more goals, I think they can shoot up the table. They got 16th with a bad attack last season, so with a better attack, I can see them coming 11th. Right, now moving on into the top 10. This is where it gets really tricky. This is where people will probably get triggered. But like, just to let you know, I am a Chelsea fan, by the way, and all I'm going to say is I'm not really looking forward to next season. I'm really not. So, this is a tough one to predict. Generally a tough one. We've got 10 decent-ish teams. Damn, I generally didn't know that. Everton have brought in Fabian Delph from Man City for 8 mil. I generally didn't know that. I knew they brought in Andre Gomez, who for 22 million is an absolute steal, by the way. Because he's actually very decent for Everton. And they brought in Lossell on a free. I'm guessing that's going to be like a backup keeper for Pickford. That's quite a good backup keeper, actually, because he was actually alright for Huddersfield last season. But Fabian Delph for 8 million in this market. I know he's 29, and that's decent for Everton. And Andre Gomez as well, which is decent. Right, I'm just looking at transfers at the minute, boys, because I'm really struggling here. So, Wolves obviously signed Jimenez on a full-time deal because they only had him on loan last season, which Jimenez, very good signing. Dendoncker, they've actually signed Dendoncker as well. They've not signed anyone else, but I imagine they will sign players. Wolves have got a very strong team though. I think I'm going to put Watford 10th, even though I think Watford could easily finish higher than 10th. I do. Watford's team's very strong. I'm going to have a quick look at Watford's transfers, just see if it changes my mind. But off their current team of what I can think, I do think Watford could easily finish higher than 10th. They brought in Craig Dawson, who was very solid back when I watched him for West Brom in the Prem. Very, very good on set pieces as well. And João Pedro, who I'm guessing is just going to be one for the future, 18 years old. And they brought in Sam Dolby or something like that. Again, one for the future, probably a free transfer. I'm going to stick with them at 10th, but like I said, I think they could easily shoot to even as high as 7th, because I do rate Watford a lot, but I'm going to put them 10th. Right, jumping on into 9th. I've had a good think about this. I'm going to go with Everton. I think it's a tough one. I do think Everton have a decent squad. But off their current squad, and the rest of these teams are just so good, man. I think they're probably going to finish higher than Everton. So it's so hard, man. This is generally really hard. But I'm going to put Everton in 9th, even though I do think they've got a decent squad. Obviously got some pretty decent players. Obviously Gomez is a good signing that they brought in. Digne had a very good season last year. Pickford wasn't the best, can't lie, but I imagine Pickford will probably be... It surely won't be worse than last season, so he'll probably be better. They do need a striker there, Everton. Richarlison has been playing up front a little bit, but Richarlison's a very good player, to be honest. Calvert-Lewin's been playing up there for them as well, but I don't know if he's good enough for them. But I'm going to put Everton 9th anyway. So, now jumping into 8th. This is where it gets even harder. In 8th place... Oh God, this is tough. In 8th place, as a Chelsea fan, this is tough. But I'm going to put Chelsea 8th. I'm going to put Chelsea 8th. I think this is tough. Obviously, we've got a transfer ban. We've managed to sign Kovacic, even with a transfer ban, because he was already registered with us. But it'll be interesting. Frank Lampard might surprise me, but even if we had a different manager, to be honest, I don't think it's down to Frank Lampard. I think our current squad right now, without Hazard, is not the best. And Hudson-Odoi's he's still not signed a contract, so if he goes to Bayern Munich as well, that's GG's. Generally, we're going down here. If we can keep hold of Hudson-Odoi and Pulisic, it'll be interesting to see whether Pulisic does it in the Prem. Didn't score many goals at Dortmund, but lately he has been pretty on form for his country, so it'll be interesting to see whether Pulisic does well. There are some youngsters that I'm excited to see though. Obviously, we've had a few players out injured, like Loftus-Cheek. Reece James is coming back. Excited to see Reece James, to be honest. Loftus-Cheek. Be interested. I think our strikers we're gonna struggle with strikers really bad. Obviously, I think Giroud's probably going to be our main striker. Be interested to see what Abraham does and Batshuayi, but 8th for me. I think we could easily be 10th as well. I think anywhere. I don't think we'll finish higher than 6th. I think it's between 6th and 12th. I honestly do. But I'm going to put Chelsea 8th. So now jumping on into 7th, I'm going to put Wolves 7th. I do think Wolves have got a very strong team. I imagine they're going to strengthen their team even more. But defensively last season, especially against the top 6, if they can improve against below the top 6, they could probably slip into top 6, which is pretty insane to think, considering it's their second year back in the Prem. So I don't think they're going to finish 7th, but again, it could easily be higher. It could even be a little bit lower. But Wolves, this current squad, obviously signing Jimenez on a full-time, very big signing that is, because Jimenez was solid for them. So 7th for Wolves. Now jumping into 6th, I'm going to put Manchester United 6th, and this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, so I don't know. But in my opinion, I do think Solskjaer, however you say his name, I do think he's not going to last the full season. I think he's going to get sacked halfway through. I do think Pogba should probably leave as well, man. If he stays another season at United, I think it's just... There's too much backlash with Pogba at United. But obviously they brought in Wan-Bissaka, who's very solid. They did need a full-back. They definitely need a centre-back. If they sign Maguire, it'll be interesting to see where they come. But there's something about United lately. There's so much backlash with their club. They just need to freshen it up a little bit. Whether it's all the way back to the backroom staff or whether it's the manager. I don't think it's all Solskjaer though. I think it's a collective thing, to be honest. But I do think they're going to finish 6th and they're going to have a different manager in charge. But we'll see. We'll see if they make any more signings. It'll be interesting to see if they do get Maguire. Jumping into 5th, we've got a very, very big surprise. I'm going to be putting Leicester City 5th. And I do think they could probably even get top 4, I think Leicester have got a very, 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 very solid team. Hopefully, if they don't, and this is a big if they don't sell Maguire, I think they'll finish 5th. If they do sell Maguire, I think they won't go too lower down. I think they'll probably finish at 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th, really. But let me just put this into perspective. If they sell Maguire, the reason why they put Maguire at 80 million is because he is so important for them. If they sell Maguire, they've got Wes Morgan, they've got Robert Huth, they've got Evans. Let me go see if they've signed a centre-back as well. I don't think they've signed a centre-back. But other than their centre-back, their team is so solid. They've signed Tielemans on a full-time deal, which is what a signing Tielemans was. Maddison, obviously, is unreal. Absolutely unreal. They've signed Perez, who's going to be interesting to see from Newcastle. They've signed James Justin, who's going to be a backup right-back for Pereira, I imagine. So they've brought in 4 signings. So again, they need to sign a centre back anyway. If they could sign a centre back, like a decent centre back, they could. I'm telling you, they could creep into top 4. But their current squad is very, very solid. So I'm putting Leicester City 5th, and yeah, I think they're going to be the shock next season. So jumping on into the top 4, this is probably, is it a bit of a shock? I don't know, probably not. But I'm going to be putting Arsenal 4. Ooh. I don't know how I feel about putting Arsenal 4th. So Arsenal have only brought in 1 player so far, but it looks as if they are going to be signing the Celtic left back. What's he called? Turney or something. Kieran Turney for like 25 mil or something like that. It looks like it's going to be around that. Might even push up to 30 mil or something like that. But with Arsenal, their attack is unbelievable. Like generally unbelievable. They scored a lot. I think they scored more goals than Chelsea last season. It's their defence, man. Like, they need to sign a new centre-backs, especially. But bringing in Kieran Turney will be interesting. I've not watched much Kieran Turney, but I've heard good things anyway. But centre-back-wise, obviously, Mustafi, not great. Socrates is alright. Socrates would be a good squad player. I think he'll be a good bench player. But centre-back-wise, they need to spend. Really need to spend. I think Ruben Dias, I don't know if they've been linked with him, but Ruben Dias is young, and he looks very good from what I've seen when I watched Portugal. Ruben Dias would be sick for like an Arsenal or United or something like that. I think he'd be sick. But I do think Arsenal come 4th, even though they haven't signed any real standout players yet. But I think their attack with Aubameyang, like Lacazette, obviously getting rid of Ramsey was stupid, very stupid on a free. But I do think their current squad is still good enough. And yeah. So now jumping on into the top 3. So Spurs have finally signed someone. Obviously last summer they didn't sign a single player. They signed Ndombele. Let me see if they've signed anyone else. So Ndombele was a sick signing. We've got here. I couldn't actually believe they signed Ndombele, to be honest. They signed Ndombele and Jack Clark. Again, he's probably one for the future, but Ndombele, what a signing. I think that's going to be a replacement for Moussa Dembele, because obviously Moussa Dembele left Spurs, he was a very good player. I did rate Moussa Dembele a lot. And so it'll be interesting to see Ndombele, because he's obviously, how old is he? He's 22, so he's still got mad potential. But even currently now, like I watched the Lyon team back in the Champions League, and God, they have got some players. Him and Awara, whatever, in midfield. Ndombele was very good from what I've seen. So Spurs look very good. The question is, do they sneak into the top 2? Are they stronger than Man City or Liverpool? Oh God, I feel like they need to buy a few fullbacks. And if Alderweireld goes, because Alderweireld's got a 25 million release clause, and if he goes, they're going to need a backup. Obviously, they've got Davinson Sanchez, but they're going to need a backup right back as well, because Trippier is looking like it's going to go. So with their current situation, I'm going to put them 3rd. But with literally like 2 or 3 signings, they could easily push top 2. But I think it's going to be a 3-horse race this season. I think it's obviously it was a 2-horse race for most of last season, but I think Spurs are going to be well and truly in the top 3 this season, with a few signings easily top 2 in my opinion. So I think this is probably going to be a lot of people's top 2, especially at this stage in the transfer window. Anyway, we've got Man City and Liverpool. So obviously Man City have brought in a defensive midfielder, which they've tried to bring in a defensive midfielder for the past few transfer windows, really. They've tried to bring in Jorginho actually last season, but my man, just Chelsea, what a beast. But they've brought in Rodri, who's only 23, which is quite a smart move from them. Interested to see whether enough he is worth it, but he's going to last a lot of years. And Fernandinho, a very, very good CDM, probably one of the best in the world. I rate him highly. Man City actually got quite unlucky with injuries last season. Liverpool got actually... I don't care what anyone says. They got mad lucky. Mad lucky. Man City got a bit of luck, but they got mad lucky. And Man City got quite unlucky with injuries as well. With De Bruyne going out for like 4 months or something like that. I think it might have even been higher than that. They had some unlucky injuries. I think even Fernandinho was injured for the back end of the season. They were having to play Gundogan, CDM, who... Nah, Gundogan's not CDM. Well, slash centre mid, whatever you call that position. But anyway... What I'm going to say is, currently, Man City are in desperate need for a centre-back. They've not got company. Obviously, he's left. Otamendi's not great. He's a good backup, probably. John Stones is shaky. He's not solid. Laporte's their only good centre-back currently. Whether or not they'll start John Stones, even if they start John Stones, in my opinion, they need at least one more centre-back. So, again, I think Ruben Dias will be a 6th signing for Man City. Very young. I think he's only like 23 or something like that. But... for that reason, we're in this sort of transfer window. They've not signed a centre-back yet. I think bringing in a CDM was very big. Because obviously, Fernandinho's getting older. And if Fernandinho picks up a knock, they need Rodri. But I imagine Rodri's going to be on the bench. Because Fernandinho's just an absolute animal. But I'm going to be putting Man City second and Liverpool first. Purely for that reason. Because I think Man City are in desperate need for a centre-back. Whereas Liverpool, right now, their team is probably the best squad in the Premier League right now, in my opinion. I think their starting 11 especially is very, very good. Matip surprised me last season as well. Matip next to Van Dijk, very, very good. I think Gomez was out for a lot of last season. He came back to the back end of last season. He was decent, but obviously they've got the best fullbacks in the league. They've got the best centre back in the world. They've got Alisson in goal, who's arguably the best keeper in the world. Well, yeah, but I was going to say best keeper in the league, but he's probably up there in the world as well. Midfield wise, Fabinho very good. I'm trying to think of their midfield. Fabinho, Henderson came in quite a bit last season. Naby Keita, not too sure what to think of Naby Keita, to be honest. Who else? Oh, Wijnaldum. Oh my god, Wijnaldum. What a player, Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum came from like quite an average player to like very good last season. I couldn't believe how good he actually was. He was very clutching at the Champions League as well. Some of the goals he scored. Shaqiri, very good backup option. Origi, obviously, tapping merchant. But yeah, a very solid team, and it'll be interesting to see whether they bring in many players. I'm going to have a quick look at who they've actually brought in so far in this transfer window. So, they have brought in so far no one. I was going to say, I can't really think of anyone Liverpool have signed. But so far, they've got, in my opinion, that is the league table. So there we go, boys. It'll be interesting to see what you guys actually think. Obviously, it's very early in the window, so if you're watching this 2-3 months ahead, when you know Ronaldo signed for United, like I generally didn't know that. I'm in July doing this, so I'm going to be doing a part 2 anyway in a few months' time when I know all the transfers and stuff like that. So let me know what your guys' thoughts. I could have got some of these wrong. Like I said, I haven't watched much of the Championship, so Sheffield might end up coming mid-table and they'll come in 10th or something like that, but I don't know much about them, so it'll be interesting to see what transfers teams make as well. Anyway, boys, so if you could drop a like, let me know your opinion in the comments, drop sub if you're new, and yeah, boys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.